If there's one thing that you would want other victims to know, what would that be?
The one thing.
Is there one thing?
Welcome to our podcast, I Never Lied, the Shelly Ann story. Our first 3 episodes are proudly brought to you by TELUS STORYHIVE. Stats Canada reports that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys will be abused before the age of 12. Many of these victims never receive the mental health therapy they need, leaving them trapped in the deep-rooted confines of anger, grief, guilt, and so much more. And this is becoming our new normal. During this 3-part podcast series, I will take you on a step-by-step journey through my life as a child and the disturbing, unfortunate events brought upon me by my stepfather and my mother. I will share my experience of being sent to Kilburn Hall, a youth detention center, at the age of 14, just for reporting my abusers. I will share many of the struggles I faced to overcome the deep-rooted adverse effects of the abuse I suffered before my healing began and where I am today. I will speak openly and honestly without fear of judgment or retaliation. I live in the city of Lloydminster. These are the famous border markers that separate the province of Saskatchewan and province of Alberta. You have to choose which province you want to live in. It is one or the other. To me, and in relation to this podcast, these border markers represent the idea that when it comes to childhood trauma and abuse, you must pick a side. On one side, you can choose to remain silent, believe this is a taboo subject, and not get involved. Or you can step on the other side and reach out to others, either to help or to get help. Just like the border markers, this is one area that you cannot live on the fence. If you try to, you will eventually fall off. In this series of podcasts, I'm hoping to educate, inform, and inspire you to stand up against childhood trauma and abuse. And if you are a victim, I want you to know that you're not alone.
Everyone has broken pieces. No one is complete. There's no such thing as perfection. It's just not within reach. The puzzle inside is coming together, and I believe it's getting better. It's getting better.
In 2013, I wrote the book, I Never Lied. I wrote it because I had serious questions and needed to find the answers. Questions like this. When is it the right time in your life to sit back and take note, to evaluate your history? When is it the right time to reflect on what you've done, where you've been, and how you got to where you are? And how long are you supposed to feel the pain when you've been hurt? How many years are you expected to hold the pain hidden away deep inside? And when have you earned the right to let it go? How many years is your spirit supposed to remain weighted down by the guilt, the shame, the sadness, and the sorrow caused by events outside of your control? For as far back as I can remember, I've been hurt easily, and I've taken everything to heart. I've held on to pain like it was a best friend. I knew there was no magical cure, and that it would always be with me. I could count on it to never leave. As hard as it is to understand or explain, my pain has defined my very existence, and it became, or rather had become, a comforting companion. This sounds stupid, I know, but for my entire life, pain was the only constant thing I knew. It was deep, it was real, and it was mine. In sharing my story, I saw this as my opportunity to take a stand for myself, to tell it the way it truly was for me growing up in the environment I did. This was a chance to try to connect with other victims and let them know they're not alone. An opportunity to educate those who have never been abused to begin to understand the thoughts and workings of a victim. But most of all, it was all about my own healing journey. Hi, and welcome back to episode 3 of I Never Lied, the Shelly Ann story. Tonight I've asked Yvonne Dunn, once again my bud, to come in and ask me some questions, and hopefully we can give you some really good answers.
Hi, Shelly.
Hi.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming on.
Much appreciated. I do have some questions for you. I think if we want to share more of what's going on, I think we need some more questions answered.
Okay.
So, Shelly, you're Métis, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, it's been said that Aboriginal people are at a higher risk of being abused. Do you think that being Métis puts you at risk?
To be abused?
Yes.
No. You know, the numbers are debatable. Stats Canada reports that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys will be or have been abused by the age of 12. They don't put a race stamp on it. They don't put a denomination on it. There's no religious, there's no race, there's no financial status to it. It's a fact, 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 5 boys.
Right.
I think that because a lot of the negativity that people see towards Aboriginal people could actually bring those numbers out and make them look higher. And I'm not going to say there isn't a high number, because there is, but I think no higher than any other community.
I know from my own research and my own study that really there are no socioeconomic barriers to childhood sexual abuse. It covers all spectrums, all
Absolutely.
peoples, all
It
everybody.
does. I just want to make it clear that I am a very proud Métis woman.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I love my history and I love my heritage. I would like to make it clear, though, at this moment, that I was not abused because I'm Métis. But I will guarantee you that my life was saved because I'm Métis. When I moved into Edmonton and I started to meet the Métis community, they just grabbed me and took me in. They loved me. They made me, for the first time in my life, feel like I was a part of something so big.
You had a family.
Exactly. And that isn't just a few people in the community. I'm talking right from our Madam President, Audrey Poitras. That woman showed me so much love and concern.
Right.
I came out of nowhere and could knock on her door at her work and say, hey, do you have a minute? The woman, a politician, yes, but the woman is a woman and she's got a heart of gold. From her to my elder, Marge Friedel, to just everyday members of the community. They saved my life. They inspired me. They paid for my education to go to school. They supported me. They believed me. Right? They wrapped themselves around me. Like I said, I believe that my life was saved because I'm Métis.
From my understanding, and again from my own research, obviously I am not Métis, but from what I have learned, that is part of the Métis culture, is to embrace family. And whether you are related genetically or not, they take you in as family because of the cultural
Well, part of the cultural aspect, I
traditions.
think, is as Métis people, we are all related.
Yes,
And we are all
that
family.
is true.
Right? We
Yes,
all string
yes.
from the same family line. It's bigger than that. You know, to take in a total stranger who they could see clearly had issues and problems and inspire me to believe in myself by believing in me.
Yes.
You know, by inspiring me to love myself because they love me.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that anywhere else.
I tend to agree with you.
Right.
Yes, I do. So through your education and everything else, you started an awareness called Speaking Out Towards Change. Tell me about that, Shelly.
The awareness movement was, now that I had this book and it was published, I didn't know what I was going to do with it.
Right.
I'm not a marketer, you know, I'm not rich. What do you do
Right.
with this book now that you have 3,000 copies? Basically and literally, I had a little white RAV4 and I deckled the windows and the front of the car and the side of the car and wrote words all over all my little mottos and everything all over the hubs of the tires. And I literally drove around BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, and even once tripped down into the States, down from Montana over to Seattle, Washington. And I would stop in a town or just on the outside of the town, I guess, at first, because I didn't have any licenses to be in their town.
Right.
And pop open the hatch on the back of my car and bring out a table and a stack of books and put my banners out and would just talk to anybody who stopped to talk to me. And some people got mad at me that I was out there speaking about this, and other people appreciated it. I drove 87,000 kilometers in total. I started out on the edge of town, got invited into town to mall parking lots, and then got invited into the malls, to getting calls to come to our library and speak to the community. And it just went from there. Newspapers and radio interviews, and just out there just talking about it, because we don't talk about it, because it is so taboo, and
Right.
secrets are left better hidden. But I know from my own
Right.
experience how dangerous it can be for the person hiding the secret,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Doing this movement, and it grew. I mean, right now the book is in 8 countries. I'm in schools.
You've actually been approached by school boards, have you not, to have your book put into their libraries
Yes.
for their students? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was. And it's quite an honor to,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
I mean, you produce something and then you go, and I'm a person who self-doubts all the time about everything that I do. And I never think
Yes.
anything is ever good enough. And so when professionals started asking for the book to be put in libraries and to be put in the secondary school libraries in Vancouver, it's shocking. It's shocking. It's overwhelming, actually, because you're scared to believe you've done something good,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it turns out that everybody wants it. You know, I get emails from people all the time that when I start thinking, oh, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Right?
Right.
I randomly get that phone call, or I randomly get that email from a stranger who's read the book
Yes.
and gives me their feedback.
Right.
And it's amazing. And that's what the movement was about.
I know for me, Shelley, when I read your book, the first thing I thought of was the incredible bravery that it takes to expose yourself and to know that people are going to see all that you are. Because once it's out there, it's out there.
Right.
And you can't take it back. I love the fact that people see that bravery and honor that bravery, because it was brave.
And that's what a lot of people just say. It takes a lot of courage, it's
Oh,
a lot
gosh,
of bravery,
yes.
it's whatever. But
Yes.
to be frankly honest, a lot of me is run by fear. And my fear is that I say nothing
Right.
and somebody else stays stuck where I was for so many
Right.
years. I have to find a way to take a very negative thing and try to use lessons learned to make it have a positive outcome. People say, well, aren't you scared you're going to be judged? No, because there's nobody in the world going to judge me as hard as I've judged myself. People have said to me, how dare you write this and tell your family secrets? Well, first of all, it's not my family secrets. It's me.
Because it happened to
They
you.
kept me as a secret. And my only comeback for that is, I guess if they didn't want anybody to know, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. I don't fear judgment. I don't fear anger mongers. Because life is what it is, you know. I'm content with what I did. I'm the first person when I make a mistake to stand there and tell you, hey, I'm wrong. I made a mistake. The other thing I was afraid of was that people would think I wanted your pity. And, you know, I lived in my own pity party for so many years. I absolutely don't want it.
Right.
If anything, pat me on the back and say, I'm proud that you continue to work on yourself every day.
Right. I think what I love about it is that you've taken it and you have grown beyond yourself and you're able to help others. But I do have a question about help, because things don't happen in a vacuum. So who's helped you with the awareness movement? That's a big deal.
Well, I had a prior employer who wanted to help me, and he did. Now, he really doesn't want me to say his company name, and I'm not going to. I'll respect that
Okay.
from him. But he actually started it. He helped me 2 years in a row, and I delivered a lot of programming and spoke to a lot of people and donated a lot of books because of him. And then once again, I had a conversation with Madame Audrey Poitras, the president of Métis Nation of Alberta, and she provided me some funding so that I could continue doing what I was doing. My family was a great support. My kids and my husband, my brother, you know, they all stood behind me and supported me on doing this whole movement. A year after the book came out, the Esquire Awards, I was nominated for Arts and Literature and was shocked beyond belief when I won.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
It was the most exciting and thrilling and scary moment of my life. It just showed me that I had made the right decision to write that book. and to share everything that I had shared.
Yeah. Your story has value.
Right.
And that means you have value.
Yes. And
You
then
know?
so
Yeah.
all of those things combined made it very possible for me to do the awareness movement. My motto in life, Yvonne, is don't sit and wait for change. You have to stand up and be that change. And I'm just one person, I'm just one voice, but I will use that voice to reach as many people as I possibly can, because today is the day for change.
In order to make that change, yes, your story is out there, but I happen to know that you've taken a fair bit of training to educate yourself. Tell me about all the training that you've taken.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Where do we start, right? But tell me. Let's share
Okay.
some of that.
I heard that there was an opportunity as a Métis woman to go into take first year university. I had no education, and I thought, well, this is just nuts.
May I pause you?
Yeah,
Where did your education end when you left home? What grade?
7.
Yes. Okay. So,
And
carry on.
I didn't even have a complete grade 7 because I failed every subject except phys ed.
Right.
Right.
And understandable under the circumstances. Absolutely.
The Métis Nation gave me an opportunity. I didn't believe in myself. My husband said, well, try. If you don't make it, good. If you do, good. Right? He said, you're not going to know if you don't try.
Right.
So I went in, I wrote the exam, and I passed. And I got accepted. And so I did my first year through the Métis Nation at the University College of Concordia in Edmonton, and did really well. And it's funny because back then, my English instructor said, you have a way with words and you need to be a writer. And I laughed her off.
And now you're an award-winning writer. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine,
Okay.
right?
Imagine. Yeah.
So when I finished that, then the Métis Nation again had another women's program at NAIT. And so I applied to get in. I didn't know what else I was going to do. And I took business administration and microcomputer accounting. I went in. I wasn't an A student, but I did very well. And I graduated and I got a really good job. And it just went from there. But in my career, years later,
Right.
somebody said to me, why are you so mad? And I said, no, not mad. Well, yeah, you are. You can see it on your face. You can see it the way you walk. It's like, no. And, you know, over the years, I had tried counselors, but either you see them once every 3 months or they look at you like you're a crackpot. It's like nobody wants to hear it, right? Or they
Right.
don't understand.
Right. Yes.
So I decided to enroll myself in a certification training as anger resolution therapist. And I, during the training, became my first client.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
because I wanted to know, am I angry and where's the anger coming from and
Right.
how do you get rid of it?
Yes. Yes.
And so my training took me quite a while, but I started seeing the anger in myself and I started really looking at where it was coming from. And it started to change everything. So then I took a course in my diploma in psychology social work. I wanted to learn about people and why do we tick the way we tick and how do communities work. So I learned a lot more, right?
Right.
And since then, I've taken multiple trainings in child abuse, and I'm now a steward for abused children. I took my advanced level 4 diploma as a life coach, and I specifically work in cognitive behavioral therapy. And I just keep going to school. Any course that I can take, I take, whether it's free or I have to pay for it. I can't even sit here and list off all my certifications or
Right. Oh, I know. Well, I've seen your wall, and and honestly, we need a larger wall or a bigger building because it's overwhelming the amount of education that you have taken over the years. So you've taken all of this training. You're a mediator. You're
Yes.
a court appointed.
I provide supervised.
Yes, childcare. And yes, for visits and that kind of thing. So the list goes on, and all of these have really set you up so that you can train others, correct?
Well, you know what? I want to work with people. I want to work with other victims. So I believe I need to learn as much as I possibly can about people and society and all of that stuff. And so I'll always keep learning. But the more I learn about where I could help other people, I have to learn for myself as well. because I'm still evolving. You know, if you ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm going to tell you, I don't know.
Well, I'm hoping to be old beyond that.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but now it's at the point where I'm creating workshops. I know there's a lot of workshops out there, but the workshops that I offer are geared specifically towards people like myself.
Right.
People who have suicidal tendencies, who suffer from DIDs, who suffer from PTSD and complex PTSD, who suffer from all of those encumbrances, alcoholism and addiction and the whole gamut.
So really about recovery.
Exactly.
Yes, in all ways, shape, and form.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my
yeah.
programs are geared specifically to help people like myself.
Right, and not just women,
Oh,
not just men, but
no.
everybody.
Everybody.
And not just Aboriginal or Métis.
No.
But to everybody.
Everybody. Because like I said before, there's no race involved
Right.
in the abuse factor.
Your courses that you teach, they're in the form of workshops, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and they're ongoing?
Yes. Sometimes I have classes in-house and sometimes I'm invited out to a community and I do workshops there. I do trainer workshops.
Yes.
You know.
I've been trained. Yes, I have. and I must say, you are an amazing facilitator. I have observed some of your workshops. I have also participated as a student. And I must say that you can't walk out of there without knowing yourself better and learning about yourself and being able to carry that forward as well. I find it very, very valuable.
A lot of my workshops are geared just for that though, because I can't fix anybody else. I can only fix me.
Right.
And so what I try to teach people is that you can't fix the people around you, but you also can't get healthy in an environment that made you sick.
Right.
Only thing you can do is work on yourself. Make the changes that you need. Right?
Yes. And your training really has provided the tools to teach others the tools.
Yes. The one workshop that I do, okay,
Yes.
it's called Unstuck, Life After Trauma.
Right.
So it doesn't deal with the trauma.
Right.
It deals with the after effects. Okay? Which is a 4-step healing process. You have to see it, feel it, own it, and live on.
Right.
So see it means I hated myself for so many years and I lived in such a terrible place because I did not allow myself to really see what was done to me as a child.
Right.
Not the actions, the repercussions of those actions, not who did it, who was responsible. And until I actually had to force myself to see it, there's no way I was ever going to heal it.
Right.
So then you have to feel it. See, because I separated so much from the see it and feel it just so I could live. You know, you have to allow yourself to go through the grieving process of what you've lost
Right.
and how you've been hurt.
Right.
But it has to be done constructively so you don't self-implode.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So once you see it and you feel it, then you have to start owning it. Until I was 30 years old, I was a product of the environment I was raised in. I really didn't know any better. So drinking and, you know, being stupid and fighting and partying and breaking the law and do all kinds of stuff like that was just part of who I was.
Right.
When I started my awakening part, which is owning it,
Right.
I
And
became
owning it.
responsible.
Right. And owning it, and I just want to clarify this because owning it and blaming yourself are not the same thing.
Absolutely not.
Not the same
No.
thing. Yes.
So the owning it part is that I had to allow my parents to own what they did.
Right.
My aunts and my uncles and everybody else who played a role in the traumatization of my childhood, I had to make them own it.
Right. They robbed you.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
went to them. I never said this is your fault. But
No.
in my mind, in my heart, I had to accept and let them own that. This was
Yeah.
stuff done to me, not by
Right.
me. To own it, I have to say, I am valuable and I am worthy of being loved. And albeit not perfect, I am a human being. I am one of God's creations.
Yes.
And so I have value. When I could take the hurt and the shame and the pain and the guilt off of me and give it to its correct owners,
Yes.
I didn't have to own that anymore.
Yes.
What I had to own is that I was a human being and I made mistakes and I was worthy of forgiving myself. I didn't have to forgive anybody else, but I had to learn to forgive myself for carrying other people's stuff for so many years.
Very powerful.
Yeah, and it is.
Yes.
And it's hard to do that. You have to start creating boundaries,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
When I hit the own it stage, I said to my mother, get out. Because she's still the same person today as she was back then.
Right.
She's never changed. You can't trust her. If you crack that door open a little bit, she kicks it wide open. And that's hers.
She's well into her 80s now.
Yes.
She? Yeah.
But that's hers.
Yeah,
And I
it
can't
is.
own it.
Yeah.
What I can own is that I'm not a person who wants to abuse a senior.
Right.
And if
Right.
I got in her face,
Yes.
I would eventually turn on her.
Right.
And that's not me.
No.
So I love her from a distance. I want her to have a good life. I want her to find happiness. I want her to find whatever it is that she's missing in her life. I wish her no ill will. I can't even sit here and say I hate her because I don't.
Right.
But I love her enough to stay away.
Right.
This is the kindest that I can be to her. Boundaries is about telling people this is what I will and this is what I will not accept in my life. And it's difficult because how do you know when you had no boundaries in your life? How do you know what those boundaries are going to be? Well, that's where you have to really sit down and take a good hard look at your inventory.
Years of training, right, Shelly?
Yes.
Years and years of
Yes.
training. Yeah.
But it works. And then live on is very simple, but probably the most difficult step of all.
Sure.
Because living on means I have set my rules, I've set my boundaries. Take it or leave it. You don't like
Right.
it, get out.
Right.
Right?
It also is very brave.
But you got to be able to live on without guilt,
Yes.
without letting anybody make you feel bad,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
one simple thing, a lot of people who have been abused are suddenly givers. That's all they do.
Yes.
It's give, 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 give.
Right.
And I used to give till I was almost dead.
People pleasing.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Please
so-
love me.
So now, somebody asks me to do something, and I go, okay, how does it make me feel doing it at the end of the day? If I know the answer is it's going to make me feel bad, my answer is no. And I tend to only do for others what makes me feel good about me.
Right.
I don't allow
Right.
their feelings or how the effect is
Right.
on them. If
'Cause
it makes
they
me
have
feel
to
good.
own that.
That's
Yes.
right. And I have to own how I'm going to feel about doing something,
Right.
right?
Yes. And you even have to own how you feel about saying no
Yes.
as well. But you have
Yes.
to know that that sits right within you, I'm sure.
And I always tell people in class, the first thing you have to do is get in your head, I'm not going to be an immediate yes. I'm going to wait 24 hours. So I'll let you know tomorrow. And you go home and you think about how's it going to make you feel to do it? Do you
Right.
have the time? Do you have the energy? Do you have the ability? And how are you going to feel when you're doing it? And that workshop works. It really does.
I'll bet it does. You've come a distance of many trials, many tests, many things and experiences. And
Right.
What's next for you, Shelly?
You know, that's a hard question because, I mean, first of all, I'm absolutely blown away and grateful that TELUS STORYHIVE chose me to do these podcasts. And to be frankly honest, I never really listened to one before. This is all new, completely new.
Right.
And I'm grateful to my team because I think it's working out good. I intend to continue making these podcasts. And there's so much. I mean, we haven't even clipped the tip of the iceberg on
Right.
this subject.
Right.
And there's so many other people out there that are more knowledgeable than I am who have made their full lives based on it. And I want them to have a chance to come and speak. I said in an earlier podcast that I love the fact that I get my voice. So I will be giving the opportunity to my children to share their voice. I was not perfect. And my kids went through so much of the early trauma because we went on the run from my stepfather, and it had an effect on them. I love my kids and they love me and we respect each other, but there was an end result. And so I want them to have an opportunity to speak about it too.
Oh, for sure.
I am working on a second book.
Yes.
Yes, and it's very culturally in tune, and I'm calling it I'm Dancing with the Booger Man. It's a sequel to the first book. I think it's even going to be better than the first book, but who knows?
Well, you're an award-winning author. I'm sure you would know.
Yes, because the second award that I won was the Fearless Woman.
Yes.
And I won it under Fearless in Helping Others and Fearless in Overcoming Adversities. So
Yes.
that's very
Yes.
exciting too. I am also at the moment writing a screenplay to put I Never Lied out into movie form. And again, have a great team with me. You know, Forges Media, they're phenomenal. And we're going to grow together and we're going to produce great things.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I intend to do online interactive workshops, especially in the Unstuck, Life After Trauma,
Yes, yeah.
which people will be able to find us and hopefully come and attend a workshop and maybe make some changes in their lives. The book is now going digital, soon to be on my website for sale, and then audio.
Nice.
So excited about that. And yeah, just going to continue to keep growing and helping people and doing what I can and speaking out as much as I can.
So your movement out of the back of your little RAV4
Is what this is today.
has grown to this.
Yes,
This
it is still
a
my awareness
continuation.
movement. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Still the awareness movement.
And honestly, Shelly, I think that it almost behooves you to continue to do so because it's still happening.
Yes.
It's still happening. And so long as we don't talk about it, it's going to continue to happen. We need to let these children know that they have a voice, and we need the abusers to know that it will not be tolerated.
That's right.
And people like you are the ones who are going to make that happen.
And the big thing with the movement is to help people move from victim
Yes.
to victor.
If there is one thing that you would want other victims to know, what would that be?
The one thing.
Is there one thing?
No. I guess if anything is cut yourself some slack and believe that you're valued and that you should love yourself first and foremost. And that it's never too late to change. Like I said, I'm 57 years old and every day I'm still growing and changing and learning and finding new understandings of myself and how I tick and how I can make that better. And still accepting that I'm not a perfect person and I still make mistakes.
Right.
But being big enough to say I've made a mistake and learn from it.
It's never too late, is it?
Never, never. And change is possible.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work
Yeah.
and you really got to get your support system in place to do it. I have a phenomenal support system and you're one of those people.
Thank you. I'm honored to be one of those
Yeah,
people.
well, I love you.
Oh, I love you too.